I know everyone's still shook from the Carlos Alcaraz-Juan Carlos Ferrero split, but was the writing on the wall? Now don't get me wrong, I was shocked when I saw the news. These two won 6 slams in 7 years, and Carlos just had his best ever season, plus Ferrero just won Coach of the Year. Neither man gave a specific reason as to why they split, but the most revealing line came from Juan's statement where he wrote, "I wish I could have continued." This could be interpreted as two things. One, Juan truly did 100% want to keep working with Carlos, but Carlos said no mas. Or something else, not Carlos Alcaraz, kept Juan Carlos from remaining as head coach. First, I thought it was the latter, that Juan Carlos stepped away for personal reasons or to be with his family. His kids still are pretty young, so it's understandable that he wanted to be around them more. Plus, he and Carlos have a pretty close relationship. He literally called Carlos his 4th kid. Regardless, I think Alcaraz adding another coach, Samuel Lopez, to his team last December might have been a big sign of Ferrero's eventual departure. And around this time, Juan Carlos said, adding someone to the team is also a way of extending a coach's career, but that didn't age well. And by the way, Marco reported that Samuel will remain as part of Team Alcaraz heading into 2026.
Carlos Alcaraz just made a decision that has the entire tennis world questioning everything they thought they knew about coaching relationships. The world #1 split with Juan Carlos Ferrero and Garbine Muguruza's reaction? She's not holding back. This isn't just another coaching change. This is something that has former champions scratching their heads wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. Have you ever made a major life change when everything seemed to be going perfectly? Let us know in the comments, because Alcaraz's decision has everyone debating whether he's a genius or making the biggest mistake of his career.
Ferrero, Carlos Alcaraz. Sin meternos a valorar si nos parece bien o mal, ¿te sorprendió la noticia?
Muchísimo, muchísimo. Yo creo que a todo el mundo, porque es que Carlos es el número 1 del mundo, ¿no? ¿Qué mejor temporada puede hacer que la que ha hecho, acabando número 1 del mundo, ganando, no sé, 8 o 10 torneos, Grand Slams? Es raro hacer un cambio en un momento tan bueno, ¿no? Cuando las cosas funcionan, se tiende a no cambiar. Así que sí, muy sorprendida, con ganas de saber más.
Let's get straight to the point. Carlos Alcaraz, the guy who's sitting pretty at world #1, who won Grand Slams, who's collected something like 8 to 10 tournaments, just decided to part ways with Juan Carlos Ferrero. And Garbine Muguruza, a 2-time Grand Slam champion who knows a thing or two about what it takes to succeed at the highest level, is absolutely shocked. Her exact words? "It surprised me greatly. I think it surprised everyone." Now, Muguruza isn't just some random player throwing in her 2 cents. This is someone who's been there, done that, won Wimbledon and the French Open. She knows how the coaching relationship works. She's had 3 coaches throughout her career. And her reaction to this split isn't just surprise. It's complete disbelief that someone would make such a drastic change when everything is going right.
Nos queda claro, por lo menos visto desde fuera, sin tener toda la información, un tema deportivo no es. Porque tú me dices, joder, es que Carlos está cayendo en primera ronda, no está logrando títulos, no está consiguiendo resultados.
Viene de su mejor año.
Claro, entonces dices tú, un tema deportivo no es.
¿Tú cuántos entrenadores tuviste, Garbi? ¿Tuviste a
No
Alex,
tantos, yo
a
tuve
Sulik,
como 3.
Claro.
Eso es.
¿En qué momento lo dejas con un entrenador? En tu caso, cuando iban mal dadas. Mejor que bien dadas, porque en el caso de Alcaraz es que iban muy bien dadas.
Muy tanto.
Claro, uno valora cambiar de equipo cuando sientes que necesitas una nueva voz o que las cosas no marchan bien. Ostras, llevo un año flojito, no he conseguido buenos resultados, o estoy perdiendo mucho, o no me transmite ese entrenador lo que me transmitía antes. Necesito cerrar este ciclo, buscar a alguien con ideas nuevas, pero siempre viene de un momento no tan bueno. No cuando ganas un Grand Slam o eres número 1 del mundo. Eso es lo que es raro, ¿no?
Here's what she said, and pay attention because this is where it gets interesting. Carlos is the world #1. What better season can he have? Being #1 in the world. He has won Grand Slams, 10 or 8 tournaments. It's rare to make a change in such a good moment. When things are working, you tend not to change. Let that sink in for a second. When things are working, you don't change. That's basic logic, right? That's what any rational person would tell you. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But apparently, Alcaraz didn't get that memo. Or he got it and decided to crumple it up and throw it in the trash because he's operating on some level that the rest of us mere mortals can't understand. Muguruza went on to explain how coaching changes usually work in tennis. She broke it down in a way that makes Alcaraz's decision look even more bizarre. One considers changing teams when they feel they need a new voice, or when they realize that things are not going well. You think about it when you perhaps see that you've had a weak year, you haven't achieved good results, you're losing a lot. That coach doesn't instill in you what they did before.
And I think the thing is, you've got to look at this coach-player relationship. And the key really for things to work is, number one, trust. Trust has to be there in any relationship, but in a coach-player relationship, it's vital. And you've also got to share values and you've got to share a vision. And I think at the start, when Carlos was young and he was 15, they definitely shared the same vision. Over time, that may have changed. You know, Carlos is in a very different situation to what he was when he was 15. There are a lot more distractions now. And you can see Carlos gets distracted. And like you said, Kevin, in this documentary, it's really interesting to hear Juan was very open with his thoughts about what he felt was the right way for Carlos to go. It felt like he wants Carlos to be that much more serious than he is with his tennis and almost to be consumed by it, which for some players, that's the right thing. You know, you see that in Jannik Sinner and you can see that with Ferrero in his career. But Carlos seems to like the life outside of tennis. Now, that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. I think balance is important, but as soon as their values are no longer aligned, I think that creates a little bit of friction. And like Greg said, the timing is the real shocker. You know, I think they were going to split at some point just because of their values, but the timing is the real thing. So it does smell like something's happened this offseason, Greg.
So let's review the typical reasons for a coaching change according to someone who's actually lived through it. Weak year, bad results, losing a lot, not feeling inspired anymore. Now let's review Alcaraz's situation. World number 1, multiple Grand Slam wins, nearly 10 tournament victories. See the disconnect here? It's like breaking up with someone right after they planned the perfect anniversary dinner and told you they love you. The timing makes absolutely no sense. Muguruza continued, "You feel you need to close that cycle and look for someone with new ideas, but it always comes from a not-so-great moment, not when you win a Grand Slam or are number 1 in the world." There it is again, the emphasis on the fact that you don't make this kind of change when you're at the top. You make it when you're struggling, when you need something different, when the current situation clearly isn't working. But here's Alcaraz, defying every bit of conventional wisdom, every pattern that's been established by decades of professional tennis. And the tennis community is losing their minds trying to figure out what's really going on. Because on the surface, this makes about as much sense as quitting your dream job right after getting a massive promotion and raise. The relationship between Alcaraz and Ferrero wasn't just a standard player-coach dynamic either. Ferrero, who was a former world number 1 himself and won the French Open back in 2003, had been with Alcaraz since the beginning of his rise to stardom. They built this success together. Every Grand Slam win, every jump in the rankings, every moment of glory, Ferrero was right there in the box, celebrating alongside him. And it's not like there were any obvious signs of trouble. They weren't arguing in public. There were no reports of tension or disagreements. From the outside, everything looked perfect, which is exactly why Muguruza and everyone else in the tennis world is so shocked. When things implode, you usually see it coming. There are warning signs, rumors, little cracks in the relationship that start to show. But this came out of nowhere like a serve to the face that you never saw coming. Muguruza's shock is even more significant when you consider that she's not someone who gets easily surprised by tennis drama. She's seen it all. She's been through coaching changes herself. She understands the pressures of being at the top. She knows what it's like to have the tennis world watching your every move. And even with all that experience and perspective, she's sitting there saying she's eager to know more because none of this makes sense. The fans are having an absolute field day with this too. Social media exploded with reactions ranging from "Carlos knows something we don't," to "This is going to be a disaster," to "Maybe Ferrero wanted out." Everyone has a theory, and most of them involve some kind of behind-the-scenes drama that we're not privy to. Because the alternative, that Alcaraz just decided to make this change for no apparent reason, is almost too wild to believe. Some people are defending the decision, saying that maybe Alcaraz feels he needs something different to get to the next level. But what exactly is the next level when you're already world number 1? What more can you achieve that would require blowing up a clearly successful partnership? It's not like he's stuck in a rut or failing to win the big matches. The guy is out here collecting titles like they're Pokemon cards. Then there's the question of what Ferrero thinks about all this. The coach who helped build a champion, who invested years of his time and energy into developing one of the best players in the world, just got shown the door at the peak of their success together. That's gotta sting. Actually, sting is probably too mild a word. That's gotta feel like a massive slap in the face, regardless of how professionally they try to handle it in public. And let's talk about the timing for a second. This didn't happen right after a disappointing loss. It didn't happen during the off-season when Alcaraz had months to reflect on his game and decide he needed a change. This happened when he's literally at the top of the tennis world. If there's a worse time to create this kind of upheaval in your team, it's hard to imagine what it would be. Unless the plan is to make 2026 as dramatic and chaotic as possible, in which case, mission accomplished. Muguruza's perspective is particularly valuable because she's not just reacting emotionally, she's analyzing this from a professional standpoint. She's been through the process of changing coaches. She knows that it's not a decision you make lightly, especially when you're having success. The fact that she had 3 different coaches throughout her career shows that she understands sometimes change is necessary. But even she's looking at this situation and saying it doesn't add up. The tennis world operates on certain understood principles. One of those principles is that you don't mess with success. You don't change a winning formula. You don't fire the coach who helped you become world #1 unless there's a really good reason. And so far, nobody has heard a reason that makes this decision make sense. Alcaraz has been relatively quiet about the specifics, which only fuels more speculation and confusion. What makes this even more interesting is how it affects the perception of Alcaraz himself. Up until this point, he's been seen as this incredibly talented, level-headed young player who makes smart decisions on and off the court. But this move has people questioning that narrative. Is he being influenced by outside voices? Is there something about his personality or decision-making that we didn't see before? Or is this actually a calculated move that's going to prove everyone wrong? The other players on tour have to be watching this situation closely too. If you're a top player and you see the world #1 split with his coach for seemingly no reason, what does that tell you? Does it give you confidence that maybe Alcaraz is about to stumble? Does it make you think there are problems behind the scenes that could affect his game? Or does it make you nervous that he's about to come back even stronger with some new secret weapon? Muguruza's comment about being eager to know more perfectly captures where everyone is at right now. We're all waiting for more information, more context, more something that will make this decision make sense. Because right now, it feels like we're watching a movie where a key scene got cut out, and suddenly the plot doesn't make sense anymore. The comparison to Muguruza's own career is interesting too. She talked about needing a new voice or feeling like a cycle needs to close. But she also emphasized that those feelings come from struggle, not from success. When she made coaching changes, it was because something wasn't working. When Alcaraz made this change, literally everything was working. That's the disconnect that nobody can quite wrap their heads around. And here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone is thinking, what if this turns out to be a huge mistake? What if Alcaraz's form drops? What if he starts losing matches he would have won with Ferrero in his corner? The pressure on whatever coach comes next is going to be absolutely massive. They're following up a partnership that produced world #1 ranking and multiple Grand Slams. Good luck living up to that. The tennis community loves to analyze every decision players make, but this one has provided more material than usual. Because it's not just about a coaching change, it's about why someone would make such a drastic move at such a successful time. It challenges everything we think we know about how professional tennis works. It makes people question whether there's more to the story than we're being told. And it leaves even experienced champions like Muguruza completely baffled. So here we are, watching one of the biggest head-scratchers in recent tennis history unfold in real time. Alcaraz has made his decision, Ferrero is out, and the entire tennis world, including Grand Slam champions who thought they'd seen it all, is left wondering what on earth is going on. Muguruza summed it up perfectly. Very surprised and eager to know more. That's where we all are. Shocked, confused, and desperately waiting for answers that actually make sense. The Alcaraz-Ferrero split continues to baffle everyone in tennis, from legends like Muguruza to fans trying to understand this shocking decision. Whether this turns out to be a stroke of genius or a massive mistake remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, the 2026 season just got a whole lot more interesting. Hit that like button and subscribe for more tennis drama and analysis.